Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this new webinar about AI and IT development. I'm glad to welcome Dominique today with me.
Hello.
So we are going to address all the challenges and stakes of AI integration in software development. In one hand, how to use it in your software development activities, but also to go to know how to integrate AI in your products and services based on software development. So maybe to introduce ourselves quickly, my name is Romain Bouvy. I'm an engineer in computer sciences, and for 8 years now, I'm leading Lineop, a company which is like specialized in company transformation and with a focus and specialization on digital transformation. So as you can guess, for the last few years, we have a lot of demands and needs, and we address AI concern more and more with our customers.
And hello, my name is Dominic Brada. I'm working for Logitech since 1.5 years as an embedded software test manager. I've been starting my career as a software engineer in the embedded world, and now I've been focusing on the testing side and very passionate about new developments and testing on this in this position. In our team, we're working on the new generation of mouse and keyboard firmware, and in this case, the new firmware is tested in our team. In the use cases for software development of AI, there's quite a lot of use cases that are interesting for us because it helps us a lot in working on code generation, on the debugging of bugs in the code, and also on error debugging. There's a lot of push to use the AI in these kind of scenarios for software development. And in the case of testing, there's also a big tendency to use AI for generation of test code, especially in case of unit tests, which are repetitive and you have to redo a lot of things. It's quite useful to use AI in these cases. And also for automation of testing, AI is very useful to help automate some repetitive tests that you need to implement on your side. And the third aspect, use case documentation. I will talk about it a little bit later, about a project we did in Logitech. Automation of code is a big topic where AI is helping a lot because it's LLM, so large language module. So on documentation, LLM is quite strong and has a lot of impact. And also one point which will be more and more important is the explanation of source code or explanation of the documentation that you have can be done by AI. So you often ask AI for some explanation of some source code, some test code, or for error code that is shown in your software development.
So, like said Dominique, like AI has a strong and global impact on most of software development activities. So today, in this area, who is not using AI to help them in the daily tasks? So the use cases are just XXL, and it impacts almost 90% of software development activities. And Gartner says that by 2027, almost 80% of the all code generated will be done by AI. So there is a strong game changer with this technology. But behind that, there is a paradox. I mean, like AI is IT, come from IT domain, but with the maturity of this technology, it will have a strong impact on resources. and mainly for the new graduated people. It means like all this type of people who doesn't have a lot of experience in professional work will be just like postponed from will be just put aside, because company, and I have some customers today, they prefer to engage some senior assisted with AI than hiring like a junior with AI, because they have all the experience to deal with and to use AI like in a good way. So there is a strong thing. We are not creating like a technical depth, but more like a learning depth in the organization. But in terms of skills, for sure, the strong is very neat. So there will be a big need about like machine learning skills, and also about like data sciences skills to clean up data, to be able to train models and so on. But also another aspect, which is more about like business analysis skills and jobs, to make, I would say, the bridge between technical aspects and business needs, to be able to implement AI efficiently in organizations. So how to use AI in software development? The first and most known way is to use like a generic chatbot. Like you can think about ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. So in a chatbot, you put like you ask the chatbot to just generate a code, or you put a piece of code and you ask the AI to improve or to debug it. So that's, I would say, the most generic way to use AI in software development, to develop small scripts and so on. Then a second one, which is like much more interesting and much more accurate, is to use plugin. It means like it's AI which is like integrated in your software development tools. So it means the AI have access to some part of, or a big part of your source code, and it can help you and be much more efficient to review code, to create code, or to debug code. And then the last point is to use API, so to use external model to be able to get the capability of AI, mainly large language model, in your service, product, or so on. So there is two main aspects: how to use AI, to improve your productivity in code development, and the second one is to improve the capability and add features in your services or products. And in Logitech,
so we are very lucky on our side in Logitech to have an internal team that is taking care of AI integration into the company. So we have access to all the AI, important AI tools and chats and utilities that have been integrated into our internal AI instance. So there's a full team that is taking care of this integration and is helping us to move up on the AI world, in the AI world, with this knowledge that we can access directly from Logitech internal network. So for the chatbot, for example, we have Gemini and also OpenAI chat that is accessible via these interfaces. And there are many initiatives to create also agents based on these chatbots, and that can be used by other people in the team or in other teams. So the push is very strong in the direction to highly use these kind of chat bots or AI interfaces in order to enhance your efficiency in the work. Regarding the plugin part, we have also, by the same team, the possibility to integrate the AI models into our toolings. And for example, we have from GitHub, there's the Copilot, which is directly integrated in our GitHub instance. Basically, that's always the case now, but it's also based on the internal AI instance we have at Logitech. So we can share all the documentation and all the source code without leaking any confidential information to the outside. That's a big advantage. Another example is Visual Studio Code, which is integrating RuCode, for example, or also Copilot in our case, where we can directly ask questions, ask for code generation, or directly access the AI interface without leaving the development tool. So it can be seamlessly integrated in our development workflow. And there's a lot of initiatives also inside of Logitech to integrate that in different stages of your development workflow. Last point for the API usage, there's also this way from provided by the internal team. We can use AI via the APIs, and that provides us the possibility to create customized AI tools that we can use in the daily work, or that can be used also in some steps of the development. And I will talk about the example we had inside in Logitech, the initiative about that, where we use the APIs and have created a custom AI tool, which is now in, let's say, our testing production code. And so we're actively using it every day. So big challenge, and in this case, is actually the want versus the can, because everybody wants to use a lot AI. Can we do that? So the big problem is, yes, you can, but it takes some time. You need to dedicate a lot of time to first understand what AI can do for you, create the correct prompts that that you can use in your development cycle, also to validate that this is correct, the prompts are working, and so ramp up and know-how for the tools is a high time-consuming investment. And you also need to know how to configure your tools correctly for the AI usage. And all this needs some time. So there's a big want, but how much can we really do? That depends on how much time the team can dedicate to this kind of activity. Second point is there's a lot of models and a lot of tools on the market, and also this testing is time consuming. So it goes along with the knowledge for the tool, know-how for tooling, but you can see also that the evolution is quite fast, and to test all these models and tools that exist on the market, that takes some time. Luckily, we have a team that is taking this into account before we can use the tools internally, but it still takes some time to know the tool, to apply some workflow, development workflow that uses these kind of tools. And yeah, this has to be taken into account, and you have to convince your managers that you want to do that and you need to do that. And the third part where we saw some big challenges is once you've generated, for example, a customized tool based on AI, since the evolution is very fast, you need to migrate to new models, to new versions, and this might break your internal customized tool. So before you start development on that, think about what could be the maintenance cost afterwards. And is it very high? Should we try to limit this and try to make it as generic as possible, and also possibility to follow up on the evolutions in your tool and to do migrations, and also that the maintenance also costs afterwards.
So, like said Dominique, you need some resources to go into AI and to integrate AI in your software development. You need time, or you need budget, for example, for specific model, API credits, and so on, and skills. So it takes time. So you need to define and to have, I would say, a global strategy and a global roadmap about how to make and how to integrate AI in the different activities of your company. That's the first point. The second point is about data sensitivity. Dominique told us about it a a little bit earlier, not all the company have the chance of Logitech to have like local and internally hosted AI model. So basically, when you start integrated AI in your software development practices, you have to be careful of which kind of tool you use, where they are hosted, what are the conditions, it means like the license and all the limitation, because you have some IP about the code, the source code. So be very careful, especially with free tool, but most of you come from software development and IT, so I don't teach you anything with that, but be very, very careful, especially with like integrated plugin who have access to some part of most of your source code. And then about the technology limitation, even if AI is very fantastic technology and it's improving a lot and very fast, it's still non-deterministic technology. So it's not like it's not always like trustable, and so you have to be careful of it. So that's why you need to preserve, to get, and to keep up to date your software development skill to use this technology in a good way. So human, it will not replace human, even if you can see today, in terms of productivity, you can just generate much more code with a single software developer than before, thanks to AI. So about what I can see about it, about AI integration, the first thing is about cost. And it's very, very important to keep that in mind. Dominic will tell us about his experience later on about it, but AI can be very costly, especially when it's integrated in your software environment. If all the time you ask something to AI scan all your source code, you may have like some very strong bills at the end. And also, when you implement AI, you also, because you need to spend time, have resources to do it, you have to focus on return on investment. So it means identifying like use case which makes sense to implement AI. You can see like the big consulting firm says that like return on investment on a lot of AI projects is very low because it's not done, I would say, in the good way. The second thing is the POC, or proof of concept implementation. It's something which is important when you start deploying and using AI. Start with a small scope and just try to integrate, to understand, to get skills, to understand all the AI behavior and added value with small projects, small scope. And I think that's the main point with AI. You can go from idea to proof of concept very, very fast. I have a customer, for example, just they have to migrate their project from one architecture to another one in a database and so on. So normally they succeed to do it in 1 month with a proof of concept. And they told me like 4 years ago, it will take almost 8 months to just make this proof of concept, to be sure, like to be able to validate that the migration would be okay. So on this aspect, if you are using like a Scrum methodology and so on, just for the first sprint, just focus on features and functionality to demonstrate the power of the interest and the added value of the project and the use case you want to implement with AI.
So some return of experience from Logitech side. So we had a small project idea about a document checker tool that uses AI in our environment for the testing. So we started off with this project idea and the feasibility study of this kind of project. And actually, we hired an intern for 2 months to work with us on this project. And the goal was to provide, exactly like Romain said, proof of concept of this kind of idea that could be integrated in our development workflow. So there was a project plan with detailed task setup of different steps we wanted to provide. And the first step was actually to have research on the different tooling that could be reintegrated in this kind of project, because we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. And so we started with this project plan and started with the first implementation of this proof of concept, which was quite well implemented, and also using a lot of possibilities to integrate it easily in our development. And once we had this proof of concept, the next step was actually to run a lot of testing and correction. So let's say like this, from the 2 months the intern was in our company, he was spending half of the time only on the correction and testing phase, because the proof of concept was quite quick. So we had some working version of the tool after like 3 weeks, and then the rest of the time we spend a lot of time to test and to refine the tool. Also working on the prompts, because we saw that prompt is the key in this kind of tooling. You need to be able to change prompt quickly and to adapt your prompt to your needs, because the AI is working 100% with this kind of input, and the output is highly dependent on what you give the AI as an input prompt. So mainly the testing was prompt testing, in a way that we tested different prompts in order to get the best results, which were reliable and also repeatable. And then you still have the integration phase, where you need to integrate this in your daily development cycle. The problem with this is it's not always plug and play. So you need to have some time to iterate, to also fix some bugs after the integration. So integration doesn't mean it's working like it was working in your test environment, but you still need some time to correct some bugs that have been found by the testers. And in this case, we started very early with some beta testers in our team that are working on real code, and tried to have the real examples of our code that we used as a test base for the development of this tool. That's it from me. So here is a short overview on the project, just to give you some idea what it looked like in our case. So here we're talking really about the custom tool that we developed. It's a standard structure with some source code, some documentation, configuration, and some tests also, and several other external tools that were used in this case. And so nothing special, I would say. It's all hosted on GitHub, and that shows, the second part shows the outcome that we had in our case for this kind of tooling. In the first section, you can see some evaluation of the cost that each call to the AI has costed you, because model usage is not for free. So you have to pay several cents per use of your AI model. Also, if it's an internal model, but it's using in the end a licensed model from other companies. And that was one of the learnings we had. You need to really focus on the cost as well, because otherwise it will be highly costly if you don't optimize your tool for this kind of usage. In the lower section, you see some information about the outcome of your check. So in this case, we had an iterative approach, where we had one validation first, if there was a documentation available. If there's no documentation, it generates some documentation, or otherwise it checks the documentation. So The green section here, documentation validated, means that everything was well documented, and the suggested ready for reviews section shows some functions that could be enhanced with more documentation or didn't have any documentation at all. And in the end, it will provide you the possibility to integrate this kind of update into your project directly with one click on a commit suggestion. So we were aiming a lot on the fact that it should be easily usable by the developers in a way that you don't have to do a lot of manipulation to integrate these kind of changes in your code. So in this case, we're not talking about code, we're talking still only about the documentation, but it's very valuable for us because we would like to have documentation that matches the implementation in this case. So that was the example from our use cases. So recommendations, like I already mentioned, be really highly attentive to how the AI is used. Is it used on every commit? Is it used in each file? Or could we limit the cost of this by only checking the files that have been changed? Or very pay attention to this, because the cost can quickly explode if you prompt every time the same prompt for the same thing that you've already checked. So in our case, for example, we implemented even a cache function that checks if the function already has been controlled, and if it's not, then we will do the documentation quality check. Otherwise, we just say, yeah, it has already been done, and we don't send this to the AI model. The second recommendation or opportunity we found is you need some possibility to compare the prompts and the models you are using. So basically, to be able to test our tool in the development, there was also the development of some extra utils that enable the comparison of different results with prompts and models. If you change your model, is the result better, worse? So this was very necessary for fine-tuning the tool usage and the tooling configuration. And in the end, in our case, we ended up with Gemini as our best option for the model we wanted to use. But it was due to these kind of test tools that we were able to validate the different quality of the outcome of this tool, because the most important thing if you're in software development is basically you need to have an outcome which is reproducible and also reliable. You don't want to have comments that are not accurate for this kind of code. So you want to have a reliable feedback from the AI, and that's one thing we had tested with different models and with different prompts. And the third recommendation, in our case, we focused a lot on the fact that we wanted to have a generic framework. So we reused the framework that existed on the market that could be integrated in our tool, which was generic. And we added some parts to this generic framework, but we also had some specific part which is for the parsing and the prompt that you use for this kind of tool. So what I would like to say is take the time to create an architecture where you have some generic framework that you could reuse for other projects, maybe, and to have the possibility to have some specific parts, which are the parser and the prompt, in this case, for the language we wanted to check. In our case, it was Python language. But we also had the test that we can also replace in the same framework a Python parser with a C++ parser and a dedicated prompt to use this on other code bases, not only Python code base. So my recommendation would be to try to work on a framework where you have some generic part which you could like to reuse, and some specific part that also the user can change, the prompt can be used can be changed also by the end user in case it's not accurate for the results are not accurate for you. So that is the feedback from me.
Thank you, Dominic. And to finish, we say it, but yeah, AI is so an hype. Then I want to repeat that. Please choose a use case with a real added value. Return on investment is a very, very key point, because you need to focus on something which makes sense. Often we just mismatch objective and resource. AI is a resource, it's not an objective in itself. So just focus on a use case which is useful for all your users, your customers, internal or external customers. The second point, there are a lot of developments about AI in models, but in tools too. So prefer to integrate some existing models, some existing tools, rather than developing one from scratch. There are a lot of open source solutions. Just before going into AI, just take a look at the market, what is accessible, what is available in open source or proprietary tools. But just for your proof of concept, just start with something which is existing, which makes you save a lot of time, at least at the first step of implementation. And then, like in most of things, focus on end user needs. You need, I would say, like the one-click stuff. And Dominic didn't talk too much about it, but tell me if I'm wrong. That's the thing. If you put like solution in the hand of end user, it should be easy to use, because if there is like two or three extra clicks, people will not adopt the solution, the AI, and so on. So just think about always think about end user usability when you implement and start using AI and deploy it at a larger scale in your organization or software development activity. And
that was the feedback from the testers, the users we asked to test the tooling on our side, that the usability is the most important factor, actually, that they won't use it if it's too complicated. So really try to make a simple solution that can be easily integrated in the daily work. Otherwise, it's not going to be used.
And finally, just AI may assist you a lot, but give the last word to you. So trust your expertise and your knowledge, and AI should assist you and not do the job at your side. So keep, I would say, the most important and valuable activity in architecture, data validation, and so on, and use AI until this point. But for a lot of activities, just give the last word, I would say, and the last decision in your hand. Don't rely on AI from zero to from the beginning to the end. So maybe to finish, as a software developer, master AI before it master you. I think is something which is nice to keep in mind for the next time, because it's going very fast and it's improving a lot day after day. Thank you very much. We will go to Q&A section, and for that, I will just stop the recording. Thank you.
Thank you.